Ever felt erased? Like your entire being, your sacrifices, your very name, became just background noise in someone else's life? Well, let me tell you what happens when a woman, a mother, decides to reclaim her name, her worth, and her home. This isn't just a story, it's a testament to the quiet strength that blooms when you're pushed to your breaking point. If this resonates, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from. I read every single one. Get ready, because what follows is a journey of reclaiming not just property, but peace. I poured everything into that boy, Liam. Not just the obvious things: food, shelter, an education that stretched my budget to its absolute limits. I gave him my very essence, my worn-out knees from double shifts, the constant ache in my spine from cleaning vomit off hospital floors at County General, my whispered prayers that my back would just hold up for one more room. I gave him my roaring 20s, my turbulent 30s, every ounce of peace I never got back. His father, David, left when Liam was 4, promising to return once he'd figured himself out. Still figuring, I guess. But Liam was my world, my reason for breathing. When I wasn't at the hospital, I was home, conjuring dinners from scratch, patiently guiding him through homework, listening to his tales of odd schoolmates and his grand dreams of building houses someday. We used to dream together, Liam and I. I'd whisper, "Mama's gonna get us a place with no upstairs stompers, a place where the walls don't echo arguments." And he'd always respond, "I'm gonna be rich, Mom, buy you a mansion with a sprawling garden." I'd smile every time, even when my hands were too stiff from work to properly hold a spoon. When I finally bought my first house at 42, it felt like winning the grand lottery. A charming little red brick house, shutters slightly askew, a porch that groaned underfoot, but it was mine. All mine. I planted roses in the front yard, each bloom named after a struggle I'd outlived: eviction, exhaustion, betrayal, pneumonia. They bloomed anyway, just like I did. By the time Liam turned 35, he was thriving. He worked for some prominent downtown firm, throwing around terms like client acquisition and equity potential. Half of it went over my head, but I always asked questions, staying involved. When he brought home Brianna, I welcomed her with open arms and my famous sweet potato pie. She was undeniably beautiful, sleek, dark hair, perfectly manicured nails, and a voice that sounded like every word was a meticulously crafted business pitch. I didn't mind it, I thought it was just her style. I even offered to help with the wedding planning. She declined, politely but firmly. So I didn't push. When they married, I didn't give them a check, or a loan, or a simple gift certificate. I gave them the house. That little red brick sanctuary, the very place I'd poured my life's blood into. I had already downsized to a small condo, closer to my work now that my knees couldn't handle the long commute. I didn't need much anymore. I wanted them to have a real start, something secure, something built on a foundation of genuine sacrifice. Start your life in a place built on love and dreams, I told them. They both smiled. Brianna's "thank you" was quick, almost rehearsed, like she'd said it a dozen times that day. I brushed it off as wedding jitters. At first, everything seemed normal. I'd drop off leftovers occasionally, receive scattered photos of their redecorating projects. Then, the communication began to dwindle. Days turned into weeks without a text. I'd call, and Liam would answer with that distant voice, the one people use when they're not truly alone. Slowly, I started noticing things. Every picture they posted proclaimed, "Finally built our dream space." Or, started from the bottom, "Now we're here." My name, my effort, my sacrifice? Not a single mention. I tried to ignore it, telling myself they were just adjusting to married life, finding their rhythm. Then came the day I baked a peach cobbler. I didn't tell them I was coming, I just baked it, driven by a deep longing to reconnect. Peach cobbler was Liam's favorite, ever since he was a little boy. He'd requested it for every birthday, every job interview, every bad day. He once swore it was better than anything in the world, even video games. I remembered that, pressing the crust down, brushing sugar over the top, thinking, maybe this will mend things. I arrived at the house, my house, and knocked. Liam opened the door barely halfway, not wide, not welcoming. "We've talked about this, Mom," he said, his voice flat. I blinked. "Talked about what, baby? You can't just pop up." "Brianna and I, we have boundaries. A schedule. Boundaries." The word stung. I hadn't raised him with guilt, hadn't hovered like those stereotypical TV mothers. I showed up maybe once every few weeks, always with food, always with a smile. Before I could even respond, I heard her voice from behind him. "Honestly, Liam, we've been thinking about changing the locks," she said, her tone light, like she was asking for sparkling water. And then she laughed. He laughed too. My boy. The one I'd held through night fevers and heartbreaking middle school breakups. He chuckled as if she'd uttered something brilliant. Then he turned back to me. "We're good, Mom. Thanks, though." The door closed, just like that. I stood there, holding that warm cobbler like an absolute fool. My arms felt stiff, as if I were a delivery person, not a mother. No kiss on the cheek, no "how are you?" Just dismissed. Erased. I walked back to my car. The air was warm, the cobbler still steamed against the foil, oblivious to its unwanted status. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Brianna leaning over Liam's shoulder, showing him something on her phone. They laughed again. That laugh, it used to be my favorite sound in the world. It used to mean joy, safety, home. Now, it sounded like a lock turning from the inside, a door closing that I paid for. I didn't cry. I didn't cuss. I just drove home. I placed the cobbler in the fridge, poured myself a cup of tea, and then I walked into my bedroom. I opened my file cabinet and pulled out a manila folder. They thought I was just a guest in that house. They forgot who built it. And I was about to remind them. Quietly. Completely. I didn't touch that cobbler for days. Every time I opened the fridge, it sat there on the second shelf, like it was waiting for me to admit I'd been played, like it knew it wasn't just dessert anymore. It was evidence. A symbol of everything I gave that got laughed at, mocked, forgotten. I couldn't bring myself to throw it out, that's how deep it cut. But I didn't cry. You reach a point in life where tears feel like a luxury, like a younger woman's game. When you've buried people, worked overtime while sick, and stayed strong while folks cracked around you, you learn to turn pain into silence. Not weakness. Silence. The kind that makes people uncomfortable because they don't know what's coming next. I sat at my dining table for hours that night, flipping through the same manila folder I hadn't opened since Liam's wedding. It held every important piece of paper I had, birth certificates, insurance copies, and at the very back, tucked behind a plastic sleeve, was the deed. Not just any deed. The deed to the house on Hillside Avenue. It wasn't just a building, it was my life in brick and drywall. Every nail in that place was paid for with hours of my life I'll never get back, scrubbing floors, emptying bedpans, skipping lunch to buy floor polish. That house was my lungs, my knees, and my sacrifices poured into one address. When Liam and Brianna got married, I gifted it to them, but I didn't do it blindly. I had a clause added. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Cassandra, told me, if you're giving away something this big, you keep your parachute. So we included it. A line so small you'd miss it if you were arrogant. Gift is subject to continued familial relationship and respect. In the event of abuse, alienation, or defamation of grandeur, property may revert back to original owner upon legal notification. I never thought I'd use it. But that night on the porch, when Liam said, "This isn't your house anymore," and Brianna joked about changing the locks, something snapped. Not just emotionally, but logically. They didn't just disrespect me, they declared themselves sole authors of something I wrote the first draft of. They wanted the benefits of my labor without the burden of my presence. A house without the woman who bled for it. A legacy without the name. No. I was done begging to be seen in the frame. I was about to remove the frame altogether. I laid out everything on the dining table, every receipt, every maintenance invoice, property tax bill, proof of ownership from day one. Then I drafted a legal notice, intent to reclaim title under conditional clause. I didn't rush. I read it 3 times. I called Cassandra. She answered on the first ring. "You sure?" she asked. "As sure as I was when I gave it to him," I said. "Then let's go to war," she smiled. Quietly. 3 days later, I sent the notice to the county registrar, certified overnight, legally binding. 1 to Liam. 1 to Brianna. And 1 posted directly on the front door of the house I bled to buy. I heard nothing. No text. No call. No knock at the door. Just silence. Until 5 days later, when my phone rang. Blocked number. I let it ring twice, then picked up. "Mama, what the hell is this?" Liam's voice was clipped, almost shaking. "What's what?" "There's a notice on our door saying we have 30 days to vacate." "Are you serious?" "It's not your door," I said calmly. "It's mine." His silence crackled on the other end. "You gave us that house, Mama. As a gift." "I gave it to the man I raised. The one who knew better than to laugh at his mother on the porch she built. That wasn't Brianna. She didn't mean anything by that. She meant it when she said she was changing the locks. That was enough." He exhaled hard. "You're punishing us over a joke?" "I'm reclaiming my name before y'all erase it entirely." A long pause. "Do you know how this makes us look?" I almost laughed. "Boy, you worried about how you look? You should be worried about how you treated me." He hung up. No goodbye. Just a click. The next morning, Brianna posted a slick video online, crying into the camera about boundaries and respect, and how her husband's mother was trying to ruin their marriage. She never said my name, never mentioned the house, just enough crocodile tears and soft piano music to stir up sympathy. But the internet? It's not as dumb as she thinks. People started piecing it together. A few folks reposted the wedding photos, the captions claiming they built everything from scratch. One woman even dug up a Facebook post I made the day I gave them the house. She quoted me word for word, "I pray this home gives you the peace I never had. Build wisely." That went viral. Her little video got buried under comments like, "Y'all erased that woman's whole name. She gave you a house and you mocked her. Black mothers are not disposable." She tried deleting it. Then she went private. I didn't say a word. I just waited. Meanwhile, the clock ticked. 25 days left. Then 20. Then 15. No calls. No apologies. Just whispers. And every time I opened that fridge and saw that cobbler, I thought, they still think this is a negotiation. But it wasn't. It was already done. And they were running out of time. 7 days left. That's all they had. And they didn't even know it. Or maybe they did, and they were just pretending they didn't. That's how some people cope with consequence. They ignore it until it shows up in the form of a sheriff with a clipboard. I wasn't waiting for an apology anymore. I wasn't waiting for Liam to come to his senses or for Brianna to fake tears at my door. I'd already given them more grace than they ever earned. This wasn't about reconciliation. This was about removal. Quiet. Legal. Final. Still, I'll admit, this part wasn't easy. You don't raise someone for 30 years, sacrifice for them, bury your whole damn youth in their future, and then celebrate taking something back. There's no joy in that. Only clarity. And sometimes, clarity cuts deeper than hate. On the 7th day, I went to church. I sat in my usual spot, 2 pews from the front, far right side, where the sunlight hits the stained glass windows just enough to make the dust sparkle. I didn't pray for strength, I already had it. I prayed for peace. Not for me. For Liam. Because after this, there would be no going back. I walked out before the benediction. I didn't want hugs. I didn't want pity. I just wanted silence. When I got home, I found the voicemail. It was from Cassandra. Judge signed the ruling. Title reversion is final. The house is legally yours again, Eleanor. They have 3 days to vacate, or they'll be removed by force. She didn't say it cold. Cassandra's a bulldog in court, but soft in spirit. I could hear the sympathy in her voice. She knew this wasn't just paperwork, it was blood work. I didn't listen to the rest. I knew what came next. The countdown had become official. 3 days. The next morning, I took a slow walk through my condo. No music, just the sound of my slippers dragging across the tile. I passed by the shelf where I keep my photo albums. My fingers hovered over the spines. I almost pulled one down, Liam's high school graduation, the look in his eyes when I handed him his first laptop. He hugged me so tight that day I couldn't breathe. But I didn't open it. I wasn't in the mood to mourn someone still breathing. I made tea, strong, no sugar. Then I opened Facebook. Not for them. For me. I typed, some people forget the foundation they're standing on until it moves. No names. No shade. Just truth. 37 likes. 8 comments. All from women I'd known for decades. Women who had raised children into strangers. Women who had paid rent on respect and got evicted anyway. One comment said, "Say it louder, Eleanor." Another just said, "I feel this." Later that afternoon, I went to the bank. I requested a full printout of the utilities and property maintenance accounts still in my name. The house had been theirs in theory, but I never took my name off the records. I'd kept paying the property insurance. I knew Brianna didn't notice. Those kinds of women never ask who's behind the curtain, as long as the lights stay on. The clerk gave me a folder, an inch thick. I smiled. Back home, I flipped through it all, dates, amounts, auto deductions. My generosity, printed in black ink. Liam called that night. Not from his number. It was a new line, one I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened, I heard the voice of a man I didn't recognize either. "Mama, I know you're mad. I know we made mistakes. But can we please talk before this goes too far?" Too far? He must have thought this was step 1. I had just started. Like I hadn't been sitting on this decision since the first time he closed that door in my face. I didn't call back. 2 days left. Brianna called next. I didn't answer. She texted instead, "You're hurting your son more than you realize. You're tearing this family apart. People are talking." I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. Then I sent one message, "I stayed out of your marriage like I was told. Now stay out of my house." Blocked her after that. I didn't need to see whatever performative meltdown she had planned next. 1 day left. Cassandra called again. She said the sheriff had already been scheduled to oversee the transition. She asked if I wanted to be there when the locks were changed. I said, "No. I've already seen enough." That night, I cooked dinner. Not takeout. Not leftovers. A full spread, collard greens, baked chicken, black-eyed peas, cornbread. The kind of meal that smells like roots and redemption. The kind I used to make when Liam came home from college. I didn't do it to celebrate. I did it because I needed to remember who I was before they tried to rewrite me. I ate alone. Quietly. Gratefully. Then I went to the fridge, opened the door, and took out the cobbler. It was still there, covered in foil, slightly wilted. I warmed it up, sat down at the table, took one bite, and it tasted just like I remembered. Sweet. Satisfying. The morning came quietly. I woke before the sun touched the blinds. My body, it always knows. Doesn't matter how long I sleep, on days like that, I just wake, fully alert, ready. No music, no phone, just me and the hum of the fridge and the whisper of God saying, "This is the day it ends." I didn't plan to be at the house. I told Cassandra that already. I wanted nothing to do with the actual handover. I'd signed the paperwork. I'd set it in motion. My name was back on the deed. The house was mine again. I didn't need to watch anyone pack a box. I didn't want to hear a single excuse. I didn't want to see Liam's eyes, not if they weren't going to be the ones I remembered. So I stayed home. I made coffee the old way, not from a machine, not from a pod. I boiled it in the pot like I used to when I couldn't afford filters. And while it brewed, I stood in the kitchen and watched the light creep across the counter, and I thought, today, I cut the cord. Then there was a knock. At first, I thought it was the sheriff, maybe someone dropping off final paperwork. But when I looked through the peephole and saw her, I almost closed the door again without thinking. Brianna. On my porch. Holding a little to-go cup of coffee, like it meant something. I didn't open the door right away. I let her knock again. I needed her to feel what it's like to be on the outside. Not invited. Not welcomed. Just tolerated. When I finally opened it, I didn't bother with greetings. She tried to smile. She wore those oversized sunglasses that women wear when they want to look dramatic in public. Her hair was pulled back tight, but not in a cute way, in a rushed, anxious, I didn't sleep kind of way. "I just want to talk," she said, soft as sugar she never gave me. I didn't step aside. "Say it from there, please." She tried again. "Just 5 minutes?" I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe, like I had all the time in the world. She exhaled, like she was the one being wronged. "We didn't mean to disrespect you," she said. "It was just boundaries, you know." I stared at her. I wanted her to say it with her whole chest, like she did the day she joked about changing my locks. But she couldn't. Because today, the locks weren't a joke anymore. "You called me a guest in my own home," I said. And laughed while doing it. "That wasn't what it was," I cut her off. "Don't lie now. You knew exactly what you were doing. You wanted me erased." Quietly. Finally. Like old furniture no one wants to get rid of in front of company. She looked away. "You didn't just ignore me," I continued. "You dishonored me. You took what I bled for, smiled for the camera, and made me the background noise." She swallowed. Then she said something she shouldn't have. "Liam didn't mean any of this." That's when the fire rose in me. "No," I said. "So when he looked me in the face and said this wasn't my home anymore? When he stood beside you like a shadow and watched you belittle me? When he let you post photos calling that house your dream without a single word of credit to the woman who paid for the foundation? That wasn't his choice." She went quiet, like someone had slapped her without touching her. "You don't get to come here and pretend this was an accident. You knew what you were doing. You wanted me gone. Well, now you got it. Congratulations." Her lip trembled, that performative tremble women like her master so well. "You're really going to make us homeless?" I scoffed. "Homeless? Please. You've got followers. Sponsors. Your family. You've got options. What you don't have is my house anymore." "I built a brand around that kitchen," she snapped. "And I built the kitchen," I said coldly, "before you ever knew what a ring light was." She tried again. "People are talking, Eleanor. You're ruining our image. Do you care about how this affects Liam's job? His reputation?" I laughed then. Not loud, just enough to let her know how pathetic it sounded. "He cared about my dignity?" I asked. "Why, standing in the family, my image, when he shut me out of the house I gave him?" She didn't answer. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, made sure she couldn't even breathe inside my peace. I leaned in close. "You should have read the clause," I said. It was right there. Small print. The same way y'all made me small in my own home. She finally broke. Not all the way, but her eyes welled up, and for a second, she looked like someone who finally saw the train coming, too late to move. Then she said something weak, something desperate. "What do we tell the neighbors?" I smiled wide this time. "Tell them the truth," I said. "Tell them the house went back to the one who never left it." She walked off then. No more tears. No more begging. Just quiet footsteps and shame. The same shame she tried to hand me on a silver platter 6 months ago when I stood on that porch with peach cobbler and a heart full of love. I watched her drive away. No honk. No wave. Just gone. Cassandra texted at 10:06 p.m., "They're out. Keys collected. Lock changed. Property cleared. All yours." I didn't reply. I just sat down at my kitchen table and looked at my hands. The same hands that cleaned operating rooms, braided Liam's hair, planted roses, and signed the paper that took back everything they thought I forgot how to claim. I wasn't angry anymore. I was sovereign. And that silence, that was the sound of a matriarch taking back her name. The day after the eviction, the neighborhood group chat exploded. I wasn't even on it, but Mrs. Harrison from across the street sent me screenshots all morning. There was one from a woman named Chloe, who lived 2 houses down from Hillside. "Did y'all see the sheriff out there? What happened?" Then someone else chimed in, "I thought they owned that place. Brianna always said it was her dream home." Then the story started. Apparently, Liam and Brianna didn't tell anyone what was going on. No notice, no warning. Just left the house in silence while the locksmith changed the bolts. No truck, no help. Just 2 people walking out of a life they pretended to build, carrying boxes they thought they were entitled to. By 3 p.m., it was online. A small local blog posted a write-up, "Young entrepreneur couple evicted from historic family home in quiet legal dispute." They didn't mention my name, but they didn't need to. In the comments, people were already digging. Someone found the wedding photos from 4 years ago. Me, in a navy dress, handing them a small wooden box tied with ribbon. Inside had been the keys and a handwritten note, "To my son and his new bride, I hope this home holds the kind of peace I never had. May you build without forgetting who laid the first brick." It had gone semi-viral at the time. People said it made them cry. That post resurfaced. And when it did, everything changed. People weren't mad at me. They were mad at them. One comment said, "Y'all erased the woman who gave you the roof." Another, "She built that home and they turned her into a guest." Another, "Black mothers are not ornamental. They are the foundation." I didn't comment. I didn't share. I didn't say a word. But I watched. Watched as Brianna locked her social media. Watched as Liam's job quietly removed his photo from their website's homepage. Watched as the house sat still on Hillside Avenue, quiet now, finally peaceful. I went there once. Just once. I parked across the street and sat in my car with the engine off. It was the same house, but it felt different. Maybe because for the first time in years, it didn't carry the sound of laughter that didn't belong to me. It didn't have a porch full of strangers or the smell of food I didn't cook. It just existed. Waiting. 2 days later, Liam called. This time, he didn't use a blocked number. I knew it was him. I let it ring twice before picking up. His voice was dry, flat. Not angry anymore. Just hollow. "Hi." That was all he said. "Hi," I said back. I just wanted to say. "I saw the posts, Mom." There was a pause. I could hear him breathing, hear the words he was struggling to form. "Everything's kind of falling apart right now." I didn't answer. Brianna's blaming me. Her family's disappointed. Still, I didn't answer. He exhaled. You really didn't have to go that far. That made me blink. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Liam, I said, calm as glass, I didn't go far. I went home. Silence again. You embarrassed us, he whispered. No, I said. You embarrassed me. I just made it legal. He didn't speak after that. I don't know if he expected tears or softness or for me to fold like I used to when he scraped his knee and cried until I picked him up. But this wasn't the same boy. And I wasn't the same mother. Not anymore. You told me to stay out of your marriage, I continued. So I stayed out of everything tied to it. That includes the house, the bank transfers, and my silence. You don't get to treat me like a stranger and keep my name on your foundation. He finally said it. I'm sorry. It didn't land the way he thought it would. Not because it wasn't overdue. But because it was empty. He didn't call me when the lawyer's letters came. He didn't defend me when Brianna laughed. He didn't check on me when I stopped coming around. He only came to say sorry when the internet decided I was right. And that's not an apology. That's PR. I didn't accept it. I didn't reject it. I just said, thank you. Then I hung up. Because some doors don't need to be slammed. They just need to be closed. Later that evening, I made dinner again. Something simple, lentils and rice, some kale on the side. I ate in silence. No TV. No music. Just the hum of peace. And after dinner, I pulled out a photo from an old shoebox. Liam at 10 years old, sitting on the porch with his arms full of school supplies I bought from 3 different stores because we couldn't afford everything in one trip. I looked at that boy for a long time. Then I put the photo away. Because I had mourned him already. The house sat empty for 2 weeks. No curtains. No laughter. No porch lights flicking on at dusk. Just silence, like the building itself was holding its breath after everything it had witnessed. After all the prayers, the betrayals, the muffled sobs behind bathroom doors, the peach cobbler that never made it past the threshold. The house was resting. I didn't rush to fill it. I didn't list it online or call any real estate friends. I needed time. Time to let go of what it used to be. Time to remember who I was before I handed the key to someone who couldn't be bothered to say thank you. People kept asking what I was going to do with it. Are you moving back in, Miss Eleanor? You should Airbnb it, make some money back. One neighbor, half whispering, said, I'd burn it down if I were you, just for peace. But peace doesn't come from fire. It comes from forgiveness. Not for them. For me. And forgiveness, I've learned, doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it just means, I'm done carrying what you tried to bury me under. So one morning, I got in my car and drove across town. Not to Hillside. To a quiet little daycare, tucked between a laundromat and a tire shop. It wasn't much, but the sign out front had caught my eye weeks ago. Children rise when they're safe inside. I met a woman named Simone. She ran the place with the kind of exhaustion only single mothers know. She had a soft voice and fast hands, always cleaning something, always watching everything at once. She had 2 kids, a girl and a boy, 5 and 7. They lived in a 1-bedroom apartment across town that leaked when it rained. I didn't ask for her story, but she gave it anyway. Not because she was looking for help, but because sometimes people like us don't get asked how we're doing, and when we finally are, the truth just spills out. I went home, pulled the deed from my drawer, and called Cassandra. I found who it belongs to, I said. She didn't even ask if I was sure. The papers were signed 3 days later. I didn't give them the house the same way I gave it to Liam. No party. No pictures. No ribbon. Just a firm handshake and a small box with 2 keys and a note, Simone, build gently. Raise loudly. Make it a home where no one ever feels like a guest. Eleanor. I didn't go with them the day they moved in. I didn't need to. I had already made peace with the house. It was no longer a symbol of what I lost. It was a tool I had reclaimed and passed forward. The next week, I got a card in the mail. Handwritten, blue ink. Inside it said, "My daughter asked if the lady who gave us the house used to be a superhero." I told her yes. Because only superheroes can take pain and turn it into a porch full of hope. I put that card on my fridge, right next to a magnet that says, "Protect your peace like it pays the rent." One night, about 2 weeks after the new family moved in, I finally did something I hadn't done since the day I stood on that porch with cobbler in my hands. I walked to the shelf and pulled out the old photo album. The one with Liam in it. The baby pictures. His 3rd grade spelling bee. The prom suit I hemmed myself because we couldn't afford tailoring. College graduation. His wedding. All of it. I sat with those photos for hours. I cried. But not like people cry in movies. No loud sobs. No shaking hands. Just tears, soft, steady, like the body was finally letting go of a weight it had carried in secret for too long. I didn't cry for Liam. I cried for the woman I used to be. The one who kept believing that love meant losing yourself, that sacrifice meant silence, that giving meant disappearing. And when the tears dried, I stood up, closed the album, and slid it back into the drawer. Not because I was erasing him, but because I no longer needed proof that I had done my part. The next morning, I made myself a big breakfast, eggs, grits, sausage, the whole thing. I played gospel music loud and sang along while I cooked. And when I sat down to eat, I looked out the window and whispered a quiet prayer, "Thank you, Lord, for finally teaching me that boundaries are holy too." Later that afternoon, I walked past Hillside Avenue. Not on purpose, just part of my daily walk. Simone's daughter was on the porch, braiding a doll's hair. She looked up and smiled so big, you'd think I was Santa. "You the house lady?" she yelled. I laughed. "I suppose I am."